year. Was that an individual goal that you set out for ahead of the season, or do you feel like that just kind of happened naturally?
Well, thank you. And no, I don't really ever set goals based on individual accomplishments. I think individual accomplishments are a signification of great teammates and great people around you, great coaching staff who help you and put you in positions to succeed on the court. So really, every single day, I'm just trying to win the day, trying to compete, trying to get better, trying to lead, trying to gain everybody's respect, and ultimately just trying to do everything it takes to build a winning culture. And I think that was the main focus, and things just happen naturally along the way that you're extremely grateful for, and things that you want to share with the people around you of help mold you and help you get.
Okay, you gotta hear this, because it sounds like we might have a new queen trying to take the women's basketball crown, or at least maybe trying to scoop up some of Caitlin Clark's huge fan base. Paige Bueckers just did an interview that sent a shockwave through the whole league. While everyone's talking about Caitlin's next season, Paige dropped some really specific plans about her offseason. She mentions getting stronger, putting on muscle, and seriously upgrading her three-point shot. Right away, fans online drew a straight line to Clark's own recent body changes and the struggles that came with them. You can't deny the timing feels a little too perfect, almost like it was planned, and because of that, you just can't avoid comparing these two superstars anymore. This one interview might completely change the whole debate about who really runs the WNBA. So let me ask you, and be real in the comments, is Paige being clever and taking shots at Caitlin? Or are we all just desperate for drama and reading way too much into a normal interview?
Is there anything that you want to add to your game going into year 2? Your bag is already deep, but is there anything you want to work on, or is there a point of emphasis this off season?
I honestly, the easy answer is to say everything, but I feel like there's so many things I want to improve in every single area of my game. So just continue to get stronger, want to live in the paint a little bit more, get to the rim a little bit more, get to the free throw line more.
So let's really get into what's happening here. Paige Bueckers sat down with USA Today for what should have been a totally normal, boring off-season chat, but instead of giving the usual generic answers, she said a few things that made everyone immediately think of Caitlin Clark's recent and very public struggles. When Paige started talking about getting her legs back, focusing on building up muscle endurance so she can last an entire grueling season, alarm bells went off for fans. They instantly thought of Caitlin's second-year problems, where her game took a serious hit. The words Paige used were just too similar and too specific to be a coincidence.
Just get my legs back, get my strength back, muscle endurance, so that I can last throughout an entire long season, last through an entire 4 quarters of a game, and then just continue to work on my mid-range and how to get to my spots in different ways. So yeah, kind of all that to say everything.
Now that last part about endurance and muscle is where things got really juicy. You have to remember the backstory here. Caitlin Clark famously packed on a lot of muscle before her second season in the WNBA. It was all over the news, but it seemed to completely mess with her game. Her legendary shooting percentages dropped like a rock. Those signature deep threes from the logo just weren't falling like they used to. She looked different, and you could tell her rhythm was totally gone. So many experts and fans pointed directly at that added muscle, saying it ruined her delicate shooting touch and her conditioning for a full game. So here's the million-dollar question we're all trying to figure out. Was Paige deliberately and strategically referencing Caitlin's whole situation? Or is this just another case of fans looking for drama where there isn't any? On one hand, you could say that pretty much every single pro athlete talks about getting stronger in the offseason. It's what they do. It's the most common goal you'll ever hear. Players are always trying to build up their bodies to handle the beatdown of a long and punishing season. There's nothing weird about that at all. On the other hand, the very specific words Paige used, like getting her legs back and making sure she can last a full season, sound exactly like the criticisms people had about Caitlin's muscle experiment when it looked like it failed. And Paige also made a point to say she wants to improve her three-point shooting. On its own, that's totally normal. But when you say that about the player known as maybe the greatest shooter in women's basketball history, it sounds like Paige is trying to position herself as the next one up, like she's coming for the title, whether she meant to or not. That's exactly how a lot of fans are taking it. The timing of all this is also pretty interesting. Paige just finished her rookie year with a trophy. Caitlin just finished her second season with some pretty mixed results after her own amazing rookie year. The contrast between them right now couldn't be clearer. Paige is the rising star who just won Rookie of the Year and seems like she has no ceiling. Caitlin is the established superstar who might be going through a bit of a sophomore slump. And get this, some fans are even accusing Paige of trying to steal Caitlin's fan base on purpose. They're pushing this idea that Paige sees a moment of weakness and is trying to jump in and become the new face of women's basketball while Caitlin looks vulnerable. The evidence for this is pretty thin, but that hasn't stopped people from running with the idea. Now, any interview Paige does gets picked apart for hidden meanings. Every single social media post is examined for any little hint of shade being thrown. Honestly, it's getting a little ridiculous. Here's the reality. In certain corners of the internet, Paige Bueckers is trending more than Caitlin Clark, and that clearly bugs Caitlin's loyal fans. They're used to their favorite player dominating every single conversation. Now, for the first time, there's someone else who's a real competitor for the spotlight, and they don't seem to like it, so they're looking for any excuse to make Paige look like the villain. There's this belief out there that Paige is actively running a campaign against Caitlin, but in reality, she's probably just focused on her own career and her own development. The interview itself was about way more than just her training plans. Paige talked about how incredible it feels to finally get a real off-season after playing non-stop for almost a full year. She talked about missing basketball and how refreshed she felt coming back. She even said her 23rd year has been one of the most peaceful and joyful times of her life. None of this has anything to do with Caitlin Clark, but the internet doesn't really care about the full story. The internet wants drama, so fans cherry-picked the quotes about building muscle and conditioning and decided Paige was sending some kind of secret message. They compared her smart, deliberate plan to what they see as Caitlin's mistake. They framed this as some big strategic rivalry when it's probably just two incredibly talented players trying to be the best they can be. Paige also talked about going back to UConn to be a practice player for her old team. She joked about being on the scout team and not having to worry about Coach Gino Auriemma yelling at her anymore. She even talked about trash-talking her old teammates when they weren't focused. It was all fun and games, but even that got twisted into a story about how Paige's competitive fire supposedly outshines Caitlin's recent struggles. The whole Rookie of the Year thing is another battlefield where people are comparing them. Paige won it after her first season with Dallas. Caitlin won it the year before with Indiana. Both of them absolutely deserved it and had historic rookie years. But now that Paige has the same award, fans are just using it as another piece of evidence in their imaginary rivalry. They're actively trying to create a situation where these two have to be enemies, even though they've never shown any bad blood toward each other. When she was asked about her own awards, Paige gave a very smart, diplomatic answer. She said she doesn't really set goals based on individual awards, because those trophies are really about having great teammates and coaches around you. She said she's just focused on trying to win every day, compete, get better, and build a winning culture. It's the perfect answer, right? Humble, team first. But some fans took it as a quiet dig at Caitlin for being too focused on her own stats, which is totally nuts, by the way. Paige's comments about team success being more important than individual awards somehow became fuel for fans who were desperate to pit these two against each other. This whole conversation about handling tough times is actually really insightful. She talked about going from winning a national championship and being on top of the world to joining a Dallas Wings team that wasn't winning right away. She stressed how important it is to stay disciplined in your habits, whether you win or lose. She talked about focusing on the process instead of just the results. It's a fantastic perspective for a young player. But again, fans found a way to make it about Caitlin. They claimed Paige was taking shots at how Caitlin handled her own team's struggles. It's just exhausting. The mention of a sports psychologist is pretty cool. Paige said she's been working with one for about 2 years now. She gave them credit for helping her frame things in a positive way and stay focused on the present. It's awesome to see a star player talk openly about mental health and training, but of course, some fans use this as just another way to compare her to Caitlin, suggesting one of them handles pressure better than the other. When Paige talked about what she wants to add to her game, she laid out a whole plan. She wants to get stronger, live in the paint, get to the free throw line more, improve her three-point shooting, and work on her mid-range game. Basically, she wants to get better at everything, which is what every great player should want. But because she said that one line about getting her legs back and building muscle endurance, fans latched onto it. The comparison to Caitlyn's muscle experiment is, let's be fair, somewhat logical. Caitlyn definitely added too much bulk, and you could see it affecting her game. Her shot was off, she looked a step slower, and she just seemed uncomfortable. So Paige's comments about wanting to have the endurance to last a full season do seem to acknowledge what happened to Caitlyn, but recognizing something isn't the same as attacking someone. Paige might have just watched Caitlyn struggle and decided to learn from it. That's just smart. The idea that Paige is trying to steal Caitlyn's fan base is especially strange. Fans aren't some limited resource that only one player can have. You can like multiple players at the same time. In fact, women's basketball gets a huge boost when there are multiple stars creating buzz. The game grows when you have compelling personalities and amazing talent on different teams. Making up these fake rivalries might get a lot of clicks on social media, but it doesn't really help the sport in the long run. Paige's comments about staying level-headed and keeping perspective are actually really valuable. She talked about her faith and believing that everything happens for a reason. She mentioned being grateful even for injuries and setbacks. She talked about having unconditional gratitude for every moment. That's some really mature thinking, and it probably comes from dealing with her own serious injuries back at UConn. She missed a lot of time in college and had to fight through tough rehab and a lot of doubt. That experience clearly shaped her outlook. When she was asked about her expectations for UConn this season, Paige again showed her team-first attitude. She talked about having the same mindset as last year, focusing on winning the day instead of looking too far ahead to championships. She stressed staying present and building good habits. She mentioned handling success and failure together as a team. This is just pure leadership talk from someone who gets what it takes to build something special. When she was asked about specific UConn players she's excited to see, Paige brought up KK Arnold taking over as point guard. She talked about KK learning from Nika Mule, from Paige herself, and from other veterans. She sounded genuinely excited to see KK lead the team in her own way. This shows that Paige is thinking about the next generation, even while she's focused on her own pro career. That's the sign of someone who cares about the program, not just their own legacy. The reality is, this interview was a pretty standard off-season conversation with a young, smart, professional athlete. Paige talked about her experiences, her goals, and how she approaches getting better. She gave thoughtful answers and showed a lot of maturity. The fact that fans immediately started connecting everything she said to Caitlin Clark says a lot more about modern fan behavior than it does about what Paige intended. Social media has created this environment where everything is seen as shade or a rivalry. The truth is probably a lot simpler. Paige Bueckers is a ridiculously talented basketball player who just had a great rookie season and wants to be even better next year. She's identified parts of her game that need work. She's being smart about her physical training. She's working on her mental game. She's doing exactly what every pro athlete should be doing in the offseason. The fact that you can compare her comments to Caitlin Clark's recent experience doesn't automatically mean that was her goal. But whether she meant to or not, this interview has everyone picking sides. The women's basketball world loves a good rivalry, even one that might not really exist.